Love it?
I love it.
Chad loves the raffle. Hopefully Chad wins the raffle because, oh, do you have your ticket? I have some up there. Karen, is there a ticket up there? If you're not in your seat, your number is called. You have to give it to someone that's seated. Okay, while we wait for that raffle ticket to be passed out or given to me, look in front of you. You might notice this amazing handmade coaster, pottery coaster, hand stamped by a friend of Castaway, a longtime friend of Castaway, Jim Bjork. He handmade all of these for each of you. So that is yours to take home. Give it up for Jim Bjork. Everybody, there we go, there we go. All right, what are we raffling off this time? You might ask. You're gonna have your choice between Pogue or Dan Miori to do your turnover on, no, I'm just kidding. It's something else. It's something else really great. And you get to choose. Okay, so in order to win the raffle, you have to... Okay, I'm gonna try that again. I know, we just have all that food in our stomachs and that cookie is probably sitting... Who knows how it's sitting. Okay. In order to win the raffle, you have to... Love the raffle! Still not what I wanted, but it's fine. You're not high schoolers, you're adults, and I won't make you do it again. All right, I'm going to pick it out. And you will need to keep these tickets. We'll have one more raffle tonight before worship, so just hold on to it, take a picture. All right. So winning ticket, if you're not in your seat, you don't win. And what do you do when I say your number? Okay. It's business meeting. I guess we're just really businessy. And then if I don't say your number, what do you say? Okay, all right. All right, 2, 6. Do we love this raffle? Okay. Okay, 2, 6, 2, 5, 5, 0, 5. Who's still in it? 4. Kins Roundtree. I don't have to fact check you. I can just tell you what you won. You won a personal Zoom-led devotion for your whole team from the one and only Chad Sievert. He's going to lead you, your team, whether it's all Crooked Creek or just housekeeping, whatever. Or Matt Pogue will do your turnover. Okay, you want that one? Okay. Great. All right, keep your raffle tickets, everybody. We'll see you later. Don't forget about your coaster. Jim Bjork, everybody. Eric, give it up for Eric, everyone.
Thank you. Okay, we can tell those cookies are sitting, like you said. Okay, I'm excited for our afternoon together, and we are going to take a little bit of more of a journey to discover how we came up with the 3 Healthies framework. That's where we're headed. Probably the most important part of this afternoon is going to be the workshop part. Okay, I'm going to say some things. I'm going to take you on the journey, but the real work of today is going to be done in groups later this afternoon. So you got to hang in there. You got to participate. And together, we're going to set a course forward towards health and camping. So I'm excited about that. We've obviously covered a lot of ground. Chad shared his goals. He shared about the employee engagement survey. He shared about MLT priorities. There's a lot of things. You've heard it said. I want to say it again. And you get to wake up every day and run a camp or an operation or support a department. There's things that have to get done in the everyday work of what we've been asked to do. And the framework we want to establish has to have room for that. That's our primary calling and place of ministry is that day-to-day work and hosting the folks. So, okay, really 2 things we're trying to accomplish. We want to have a clear and simplified vision equals 3 Healthies framework. And we want our camp staff, particularly this room, to play a larger role in how we move forward. I joke often, I'm kind of a meeting professional. Matt picks on me for how much I'm on Zoom. That's okay, I'm okay with that. I've embraced the role. I think we are realizing in this moment, if I'm really transparent, Gone are the days of sitting at a cubicle trying to make decisions on behalf of the entire department. We need greater input and collaborative accountability around the way that we chart our course together. Part of this journey, part of this journey is we need to actually start on the border of Vietnam and China. And so Kathleen, pretty early on in our priorities conversation, brought this image to one of our priority meetings, and she said, I think this is what our camp staff feels like. And I went, I think so too. I actually did a little bit of research on Ben Yoke Falls, I think is how you say it. This waterfall here is almost, it looks bigger, it's like 100 feet high. It's about 1,000 feet wide across this. It is a transnational waterfall, like I said, Vietnam and China. And I think if I'm a staff person in that bottom pool of water, I'm actually probably focused on what's coming right at me, but I don't realize that there's other stuff going on over here or over to my left. It's overwhelming. The number of inputs, the way the water's flowing, it's pretty easy to get lost in what are the priorities and where are we headed. So I think this is a really, really, really helpful current state representation or visual of where we're at. Okay, on our journey, we're going to go all the way back to Colorado Springs, and I want to offer you another perspective. This is Seven Falls in Colorado Springs. Recently hiked the 224 steps up to the top of that. It's about 200 feet high, and I bet it's no more than 100 feet across at the widest point. And it is, in Colorado and probably elsewhere, they call it punch bowls, where the top fall goes into a punch bowl, and then some of the water spills out from there, and there's 7 cascading waterfalls. I think this represents a helpful view of where we want to head, a cascading approach to priorities. Chad alluded to it earlier. In this kind of waterfall, there is kind of a control. There aren't dams that are letting water out at a certain interval. It just is the flow down. But there is a sense that like the water pools and then some of the water spills out. There is kind of a controlling nature to this. And obviously Chad spoke of how he feels the weight of that responsibility to kind of hold certain things or set the pace. I know that many of you feel that in your roles. Okay, how do we prioritize all the things, and how do I invite people into this? Okay, so Ben Yoke Falls to Seven Falls in Colorado Springs. Hopefully those are helpful visuals for you. All right, so in modeling the MLT priorities, I love the phrase in there. It was at the top of the slide. It said, who we're becoming. And I wanted to borrow that language and bring us back to this transformation statement. And so I've asked actually just a few people in the room. So Lauren, if you wouldn't mind going first and just reading that opening sentences.
In a world saturated with noise and pressure, Young Life Camping envisions a ministry where young people discover a refuge of genuine connection and the restorative embrace of Jesus' love.
Thank you. Mark Braun, would you read the next one, please?
By prioritizing our staff's thriving through relational formation, fair compensation, and ongoing professional development, we build a sustainable ministry focused on clear missional priorities.
Thank you. And then Katie, do you mind reading that last one?
Working as true partners with our field teams, we create safe, distraction-free spaces that nurture real relationships and a strong sense of belonging, turning every encounter into a chance to experience the life-changing power of the gospel.
Great. Okay. I've been trying to figure out how to say this. I'm just going to shoot you straight. This represents who we have to acknowledge that where we are is where we cannot stay. The survey, the focus groups, the staff engagement survey are all pointing to holding on to what is most true about Young Life Camping, but being willing to change and shift for and adapt to a changing world. This statement becomes so critical in grounding us in keeping what is most true, but being willing to change over time. We have to be convinced. I don't know if many of you remember, early on in our learning from A.E. Sloan, there was a healthy organizational graph where organizations grow and then they begin to decline. And really healthy organizations are able to create another growth curve and adapt over time to stay healthy. The work we're going to do this afternoon has to be rooted and motivated out of our staff is giving us really clear feedback, and we need some shifts in order to stay relevant in the ministry work we're doing. I've had to wrestle with that a ton. Like, I'll be honest, I'm a person who loves stability. I mean, I like a clean desk. Like, I leave it the same way every day when I leave the office. And I'm thoroughly convinced, based off of the deep listening we've done, that change is needed. So to that end, I would encourage you to lean in when you're in your groups. Brainstorm together. Dream of what the future of this could look like. And we'll guide you through that exercise. This next slide is just kind of another click down on that. You know, who are we becoming? Well, we're going to remain, those top things will remain the same. You know, Young Life Camping will continue to be a safe place where you can encounter Jesus, free from overstimulation and pressure, and we'll continue to foster connection and a sense of belonging. Like that's our DNA. That is why we show up. Those are the stories that we heard last night at Club. Okay, we took a stab at envisioning what this future could look like. So as we look into the future, our priority is to cultivate healthy ministry by investing in healthy people and operations. At the end of the day, when you take all of these things, you know, if you think of Ben Yoke Falls and you think of Seven Falls, okay, if we put at the top of Seven Falls, we put in all the things, MLT priorities, goals, other mission priorities, maybe priorities that you're like, I don't like that priority for my county licensing, or, you know, like all these things that get put in the top. We really believe at the core, after all of the deep listening, a healthy priority framework for camping has to do with a ministry and partnership component, healthy operations that are grounded in priorities, and then this idea of healthy people who are living into those spaces and doing great ministry there. We really believe it's been helpful for us that the three healthies, as Dan coined it in one of our meetings, is a helpful framework. We need to build that out a little bit. We need to do a little bit more work. Admittedly, we've taken a few passes at is healthy the right word for each. You've heard thriving of our people. We're still curious about what those right words might be, descriptors, but we've just kind of settled on the three healthies for now. We're okay if that matures over time, but wanted to point that out to you. Okay, so here's another view of the three healthies. What we've done here is incorporated the three healthies as the root or the foundation of this tree. You can notice Young Life mission, vision, values, and methods. And then in this example, it really leads to the 4 pillars of the known strategy. So this is a way that we can envision the three healthies being anchoring for the camping department as we support the broader mission. Okay. All this is great. We did some wordsmithing. We whittled it down, shoved everything in the top of the funnel, or put it in at the top of Seven Falls, and we think we have some handles to talk about the three healthies. But how do we actually implement change in an organization or in a department? I'm going to guess that many of you in this room do this pretty intuitively. And you might not actually be realizing that you're doing it. And so in our learning, culture shifts based on the values, attitudes, and behaviors. So let's talk about that a little bit. In order to create change in the camping department, we need to be able to talk about the values, attitudes, and behaviors. Okay, that seems pretty easy. Well, it's actually some work. Good news, if you go back to the survey results that were part of our pre-read, there's actually a lot more of those in there than you might first think. Some of the work's already been done. Our staff has told us, and us in this room that helped participate, have actually helped refine that a little bit. What are the values, attitudes, and behaviors that will actually implement change over time? I put it up there. It's worth saying out loud. Values can be stated. You can say them, hey, we value hospitality. Attitudes are the heart behind that. Well, gosh, why do we value hospitality? Well, it's because we care for people. They're image bearers. Like, we care for them. What's the behavior? I'm going to slow down enough to see someone and welcome them and have an intentional conversation. That's how you would see hospitality in action. That's probably a lame example, but that's what I came up with. So that was helpful for me to go, okay, when I'm thinking about this thing, is it a value, is it an attitude, or is it a behavior? Okay, we're kind of getting closer to the workshop part, so hopefully you're sticking with me because you're gonna get to put some of this into practice. There's a little bit more on this last slide that I'm going to show you, but hopefully it is a helpful framework as we start our conversations. Okay, I guess Levi, I'm into I'm kind of into these kinds of tables now. So across the top, we've put the 3 healthies. We've put the shift underneath that we're desiring. So people, prioritizing the thriving of our people. You can see operations, you can see ministry. And then what we've done on the left-hand side is put the values, attitudes, and behaviors. These are just a few ideas associated with these 3 healthies. And obviously we've left the behaviors blank to kind of set up our afternoon conversation. Let's pick on the healthy people here. So the value, and again, this is straight off of the dashboard that we got from A.E. Sloan at the end. So the value that was called out that we think most closely aligned with healthy people is relational leadership, prioritizing deep connection with staff and guests. I think we could all probably stack hands and say, gosh, if that was happening at my camp, the department I'm responsible for and the operation I lead, we would know that there are healthy people doing ministry there if we were doing those things. Well, what are some of the attitudes under healthy people? Service from a place of joy, sustainable pace, people before production, development and growth for staff. Those would be some of the attitudes, the heart behind it. And then we're going to get to explore together kind of what would be some of those behaviors that we'd be able to see play out in our sphere of influence. Okay, Mr. Dan, I'm going to invite you up to help set up our time. Oh, I didn't turn it on, sorry.
You're doing so well. I forgot I was a part of this.
Okay, thanks. Let me ask you a question. Do you want to do a little Q&A or do you want to set up what's next?
I want to do both.
Darn it. Okay.
No, that's good. I think some Q&A, but also I would say, kind of connecting this to the conversation we had right before lunch of, the updates from the groups were very compressed. And again, that's where I went, hey, we could hear updates from these groups all afternoon, but we would rather get to some work. But they're trying to communicate some really deep work in a very short amount of time. But in the interactions to go, like Stacy affirming, hey, the department head survey, here's why that mattered. So for us to be able to go, it's not the survey. It's the value, the attitude, and then the behavior of here's how we're going to connect, give people a chance to connect to leadership. Here's how we're going to provide a development opportunity for a department head. And here's the behavior in that. The ability to define that behavior is really important. It's not the magic in the survey or even thinking about being on an assignment. It's that connecting with our field friends in that partnership. It's not, oh, you need to go do a 4-week assignment. It could be, oh, I'm going to be at an adventure camp for a week, or I'm going to fill in for somebody for 4 days. But it's this value, attitude, and behavior around how we partner and being able to name those things that's really important. And what we've noticed about ourselves is we have done this is we go to solve really quick. And we go to, hey, that kind of work, oh, great, let's make everyone do it, across the board without really identifying, like, what are we learning here and what's the behavior that we are trying to reinforce and train and make sure people are receiving. And I think being able to name that behavior, because the systems are going to change over time, and the impact and effectiveness of them are going to change. 3 years from now, the learning catalog won't be as impactful as it is this fall. And Jordan and I will need to go, okay, what really is it about this tool that's helpful? And how do we continue to change it so it's helpful in that way and it's encouraging the value, attitude, and behavior that we think is important.
And Dan, if I could add, Stacy
Please.
almost did that intuitively because she
Right.
said really what's is a rhythm of reflection. Like that's actually
Yes.
the behavior. She got there in her explanation. I think that's really helpful.
Right. And part of this kind of process of learning and experimenting is how do we go learn some things, figure out what needs to be, what we want to replicate and how it can be scaled, and then to go put it into action. So as we say all this, would love to hear, so
That'd
is
be
a
great.
dangerous question, what people are tracking, questions you may have before we kind of get into the work mode. Mike, I'm so glad you're here.
What would lead you to say that this exercise was fruitful and worthwhile? Like, end goal, when we finish the exercise, what are you hoping to walk away with? And you would go, that was awesome, exactly what we were hoping for.
It's a great question. For me, I would say, one, we're going to do a few things this afternoon. One of them is going to be populating these behaviors right here. And the next two things are going to be asking this group to help us with specific, what are things we can go try right now that you are willing to go try? And so we're going to create some time to do that. I think one important thing in there is it's not us creating it. Like, I can write some behaviors down. I'm not working at a camp right now. And so I think those things coming from this room is really important. And this room going, here's some things we can go try that we will go try and then learn from, I think is really important. And so I think beginning to work on that skill together, to me, feels important. And that this isn't just an exercise, we're gonna go do these things. And that the information we put in that behaviors box, Eric and I, we're gonna all take and go, we're gonna use it and start to refine it and start to go, okay, does this seem about right? Okay, what do you think now? We're gonna use it. Would you add anything?
Yeah, I would say that's great in the short term. And then long term, Micah, the work, getting to this kind of granular level actually enables us to communicate about the shift we desire. So if you think of that shift from sacrificial perfectionism to, it had to do with hospitality. I had the other descriptor and I just lost it.
Sustainable?
Sustainable, thank you. The way that's most effectively going to happen is if we're able to name in order to navigate the shift over time. So it enables us in the room as leaders to go back and lead to a new reality. So.
And as if you think about the learning catalog, like if you're meeting with a staff person going, it's not necessarily the specific class that's the thing. It's what's the behavior that you're hoping or the value that you're hoping to encourage them and help them develop, I think being able to say those things specifically is just incredibly helpful, as opposed to, or you could just do this thing that might be helpful or not helpful.
It's good.
Great. Any other questions before we get moving?
You said we were supposed to check with Jordan.
Yes, this is great. We really are gonna split into groups. And to be really clear, it's like we're gonna spend the first time writing behaviors. Each one's gonna have one. And then we're gonna spend some time later coming up with like an experiment to see that behavior come to life. But we're gonna start and just write behaviors. If we were to have people that are thriving, that are, healthy people, what are the behaviors that we would see? And that's how we're gonna spend time this first little bit as we go into it.
Yep.
So that's great.
So here's what's about to happen. We're gonna, in a second, we're gonna put up on the screen small groups. There are 9 of them. 3 for each of the healthies. 3 for healthy people, 3 for healthy operations, 3 for healthy ministry. You'll see your name up there. One of the names on there is in bold. You get to be the facilitator of your group. You're welcome. And you're gonna take 20 minutes. We're gonna give you a giant piece of paper and a marker, and you're gonna take 20 minutes, and for your healthy, you're just gonna write down, what do we think are the most important behaviors that we would see from a healthy staff person, or a healthy operation, or a healthy ministry. And you're just gonna write down the ones that you think are the most important. Then, we're gonna give you 20 minutes to do that. And we will kind of keep this slide up there after we'll bring it back after we show you the small group slides. So we're gonna give you 20 minutes to do that. Then the facilitators of each of those groups, so the 3 facilitators for the people group, the 3 for the operations, and 3 for ministry, are gonna get together and combine their lists. And they'll do that for about 10 minutes. And so we're gonna be left with 3 lists, 1 for each of these, of behaviors. And so that's gonna be the first thing that we do. Then we're gonna come back and think about those behaviors and go, what are things we can try right now in the short term where we can learn some things about those.
And we may ask each group to share their
Yes,
list.
thank you.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep, and we'll share about it. So is everyone clear what we're asking you to do for the next 20 minutes? Great.
Yeah. What about the group that you put outside? They can stay in here, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we'll allow it.
Okay. All right. Awesome.
So we can put the small groups up there.
Let's do it.
So we have 20 minutes. Gather your group. There's paper magically appearing. This feels definitely like a program bit.
I didn't even see that coming.
See the bold name from your
Ah.
name's at the top.
If your name is at the top,
Facilitator.
you are the facilitator.
All right.
Your name's first on the list. You're the facilitator.
And you may notice most of the CLT is not on there. They will be roaming around, so they're not just bored and being annoying. They will actually be near your group, asking questions and maybe being annoying. Yeah.
Let's say I wanted the definition of a behavior.
Yes, this would be good. If we want to give an example of a behavior. I'm actually going to pull the room here, but can you think of a...
Yes, please.
I got one.
You got one, great.
What was it?
For healthy people.
Just one example, Katie. Don't give the answer key away. No, I'm just kidding. There isn't an answer key.
Staff are able to articulate their calling as camping ministry professionals. They can articulate why they're called to camping, why they're doing this work.
Chad called out a great one earlier in the like mission-wide survey. The like staff having evaluations. That is a behavior that we're already hitting. That says we care about evaluations for our staff. We value having an annual evaluation for them and that check-in period with staff. The behavior is that our staff have annual evaluations. And that's one that we are already doing that is a great celebration. So that is a behavior that we have the evaluations.
Make sense?
You should be able to see it or hear it.
Yep, you can see it. And this is where I will bounce around. So if you're like, am I on the right track? Like, I'll be bouncing around, CLT will bounce around, and we can answer those. So group leaders, come on up here and grab a big white Post-it note section for y'all that you're going to work on and a marker. And y'all can gather around in this room, and we are going to be back in here at 1:50.
So 150 if you decide to walk somewhere else, but you all can kind of move tables, get in your groups to work. Yep, so everyone, we're going to be back in our seats at 1:50. So grab your folks and start writing out behaviors. Okay, we're going to have another 5 minutes in your group to wrap up those lists. So 5 minutes, and then we'll tell you what's next.
You have less volunteer.
Sorry, we're just looking at the, I just went through the bullet points and added these additional resources just found that we have some.
I think one of them, and it's not just keeping that's where people want to go for resources. We just think it's cheaper for me if we just spend 2 weeks on fixing something than actually buying it or getting it cheaper. It's not always healthy in my perspective. Each department would know, like, this is the cost of the way, like our time is and as nonprofit, we don't Jen's out here talking about that into like, I didn't need this team to be out, I need to receive it first, so I can help
It might balance of knowing when to spend the dollars versus spend the time.
start to wrap up. You're doing a great job. Especially you, Sig. Pens down. All right. Can everyone hear me? Eyes on Dan. Here's what we're about to do. If you are one of the facilitators, one, thank you. As we walked around, great conversation. Really great. And we will talk more, we'll do some sharing and talk about it. If you are one of the facilitators, we need you to bring your pad and all your list and come up, and you're going to help us combine them. If you are not a facilitator, you have a 10-minute break, and you need to be back seated at 2:05. 2:05. Sorry, facilitators. You get an extra ticket. We're going to keep consolidating for another 5 minutes, so enjoy your snacks. You're welcome.
Okay, I think we're going to bring it back in here. So if you'll wrap up your conversation, find your seat. That would be helpful. Thanks, Benson. Appreciate you. Thanks, Mr. DeVore. So we are wrapping up that enthralling conversation that you're having right now.
All right, here we go. Have a seat. Great job. There's a lot of pad paper over here.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good workshop.
Yep. Okay, here we go.
All right, we are finding our seats.
Yep, great job.
Eyes on Dan, that's what I'm saying.
I'm very curious what's next. Very curious. What's next?
I don't know.
Great. All right, great job. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to have each of the groups kind of read their consolidated list, and then right before we get to that, would love to hear just quickly what the experience was like trying to write those behaviors. What things maybe did you notice? What was challenging about it? What was exciting about it maybe? Any observations?
It was easy to describe an idea, but I don't know about a very specific behavior. I had a hard time.
Yes.
I'm the only one.
Yeah.
It was easy to get bogged down in other people's behaviors.
Yeah, other groups.
Oh, I like that.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Other, like, not our staff.
Oh,
What?
yes.
Things that we do, but things that others do.
Yes. Yep.
It was hard for me to separate attitudes from behaviors.
Uh-huh.
It was hard to just.
Did,
It's hard to recognize what behaviors you're accustomed to may not be familiar to others.
That's good. I heard that in a lot of groups. Many groups.
Yeah, a lot of behaviors that were really similar but just differently worded. Did anyone feel challenged with kind of the crossover between the three groups? Like you had some people in your operations and some ministry in your people and that kind of challenge. We struggled with that a lot when we were doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that I realized it during the collection. Brett overheard us talking about one of the things, and I think it started to cross over in, I don't know if you'd call it, both, probably cross over all of them, where a behavior was something that he felt like didn't serve the operation or protect the people well. And so we're going to name it as a priority here, but that's not necessarily the best thing everywhere.
That's a great
or maybe
tension.
It's not a good thing at Sharp Top either, and I'm just hurting people unintentionally.
It's a great tension to be aware of, and that as we think about behaviors, that they're not hurting the other ones, So that's great to call out, Marshall, and to wonder about as we go through.
Or
it.
leading to unhealth.
Yeah.
Is maybe another way.
One thing that I was aware of as I was walking around with the groups is like who were the operators, who are the active, the people that are doing this?
Mhm.
Is it camp managers or is it all camp staff? Because I think that I'm kind of thinking through my own lens,
Mm-hmm.
and my behaviors are different than camp manager behaviors are different than camp staff behaviors. And so to kind of click it up to the universal level, like the Joe camp staff level, was
Right, that we all kind of approach it with a different perspective a little bit.
yeah.
And like I noticed for me, I tend to do it of like, okay, if I was training a maintenance tech 2 tomorrow, what would I say about, here's what's important about the facility and how we care for it. Like that kind of but other people may have a totally different perspective of what a behavior means and how it's taught.
Yeah, Megan, I appreciate you sharing that. I think what I'm curious about is where are those spots we can actually identify alignment.
Exactly.
because I'm hopeful that we can identify some behaviors that apply throughout our department. I think that's going to be powerful.
Great. Well, keep all the things you're thinking. Keep holding on to them. We're going to have each group kind of read their consolidated list. A couple of disclaimers. These lists aren't the list. They're not the perfect list. They're not all maybe even written in exact behavior form or wordsmith, but I think they kind of represent as they took each group took their best shot. And I would say, like, at least in the operations group, there were several that it was kind of, they were worded very differently, but we're gonna kind of combine them into this one statement type of thing. Did you guys find that?
Yes.
Great. So Tex, you wanna come up and read the healthy operations?
Give it up for Tex, yes.
Hey everybody.
Tex, I'll hold it for you.
Oh, my bad. Managers do want to stay next to
So, as we reflected on behaviors of operations, first one, well-functioning leadership team. Second one, regularly evaluating operations, all aspects of that. Active communications amongst departments, amongst all staff teams. Staff connectedness, this was everything from staff meetings to staff lunches to staff retreats. Training and development for all. Intentional and strategic calendar as we think about the rhythms of our guest group calendar. How are we ensuring some level of a rhythm with that? Financial stewardship and transparency financial and resource stewardship and transparency as we talk about how we're using people, equipment, finances. Operating out of abundance instead of scarcity. Staff has a clear vision and goals, not just for camp, but within each department as well. Being able to tell the why. Why do we clean the dishwasher? Things like that. Staff input into systems and solutions, thinking through how do we connect our frontline staff to the things that they may be receiving that they feel like maybe there's some input in their, or value to their input. And have clarity on expectations. More defined job descriptions or within their scope. And then interdepartmental cooperation and empathy. When one department is struggling, how another department is engaging to support and care and not just worried about their particular department.
Well done.
Great job. All right, where's our healthy ministry representative? Ooh, Emily.
Let's go, Emily.
Yeah, Emily.
I will add a caveat that we, like with 26 seconds left in our session, said, this is pretty summer heavy. We didn't really, there's 9 other months of the year where you're maybe in a different version of ministry. So I just will say that. I will also say a lot of these are camp manager with the camp director. So this is not us telling you how to manage your camp directors, but that does seem to be a key relationship in a lot of this. We did figure out very quickly a little bit to what Davey said. This is kind of assuming that this change or this shift and these behaviors will be welcomed by the other half of this equation. This is not just camp staff doing something. We are in partnership, and there is another half of the relationship. So some of these are camp behaviors that we would hope to see, and some of these are field behaviors that we would hope to also eventually see. So on the camp-led side, a behavior would be, prior to camp, there are monthly calls between the camp director and the camp manager. That may be a reality at your camp, it may not. Camp staff attend key gospel-focused moments, whether that's a club or a say-so. One camp gave an example that their facility management team is the people who hand out the New Believer Bibles at the end of the New Believers Walk. Going to field meetings, that does imply being invited to field meetings. It might take a little bit of pushing into them, But things like regional meetings that might be held at your camp, sitting in the back of the room, asking if your leadership team can sit in the back of the room. Yes?
We get invited to our regional solitude retreat. That's an example.
Yeah.
That happens at our camp.
Great. If you didn't hear that, Marshall said the Sharp Top team gets invited to the regional solitude retreat that is hosted at Sharp Top. Some of those things. Camp staff are involved in local ministry, whether that's they help host the banquet that's hosted at your camp. They cook food for the banquet that is hosted somewhere else. They are a local Young Life leader, and they take kids to camp in the summer. Camp staff attend every assigned team training, whether it is divisionally managed or local to your camp, that they go and they are building that relationship from there. Collaborative A-team placement, this might be at the camp manager or the divisional coordinator level, but that camp staff do have some say in who is on assignment there, and not just, I would say I see a lot of it is solely based on so you can give input on housing and the number of kids that are at camp that are on assignment, and more about the actual job they will be doing. And then we use a key behavior that would change would be that our language has changed. We don't just use the field, or we don't just use camp staff or my division. We didn't have a great, we would say this instead, but our language may portray that we might feel a divide. Some of the field-led things that we would want to potentially see are that camp staff are invited to assigned team parties. Whether they can go or not based on their schedule, maybe they're hosting, but camp staff, and Kathleen made a note in ours, that would include interns. That it is a celebration for everyone at camp at the end of a week, not just those on assignment. Camp staff speak at all camp worship. This field-led feedback or field-requested feedback, this came from me. I typically get a lot of requests for reports or all the Cognito forms that are submitted in the summer, whether that's trip leader evaluations or camp director, camp speaker weekly reports. I typically don't get asked for a ton of those leading into assigned team training. I get asked for them at the end of the summer, and I don't know what happens to them. And so seeing the field request more information about their people on assignment while they are preparing their assigned teams. And then the last one, assigned team training is informed by camp managers on all parts of it, not just the technical, but also what does it look like to be on staff at X camp. And being on assignment at X camp includes these aspects of our camp culture, and we're inviting you to be on that team. Thanks.
All right, healthy people.
Debbie's coming down.
Let's go, Debbie.
I don't know where it is. Oh, perfect. Yeah. Thanks, Katie. Okay, so we talked about how healthy people can articulate the why, both individually, their individual why, as well as our corporate why. We would see an active engagement of spiritual formation. This one we noted can be a little bit tricky because you could check the box of doing your Devo, but hopefully if folks are healthy, that engagement in spiritual formation is flowing out of transformation by the Holy Spirit in their lives and flowing into everything they're doing. We talked about rhythm of rest and how that could look like healthy uses of PTO, margin, self-care, building in, actual days off and Sabbath practices, things like that. We talked a lot about the importance of playing together as individual teams, as greater teams, and you would see evidence of that in our behaviors. And active listening, as we got towards the bottom, we started having some offshoots of conversation, but this idea of both listening with a seeking to understand instead of just jumping to solutioning, but also a partnership in that listening that does lead towards collaborative solutions with our staff. And then Lauren highlighted as well just this idea of regular rhythms of engagement with staff. So whether that's weekly meetings, one-on-ones,
2-on-1s monthly, but that idea, you can see rhythm came up multiple times here. Also, a culture of curiosity and learning. Underneath that, this idea of a willingness to like both take risks as well as also to fail, and then how do we respond to failure in those coaching conversations, of being able to keep being curious, keep learning through those experiments. And then finally, this one, get people in the right seat on the bus, or even caring for people to get off the bus if this isn't the right or healthy fit. And the nuances of what does it look like to have those conversations to help people actually thrive. So that's what we had.
Great job.
I'll represent for the people team. They had so many great thoughts, so it was really hard to consolidate. So there's some other lists around here that have a ton more of other ideas for them.
Great job. A few acknowledgments or some things I heard or was thinking during that time also. One, we have a lot of different contexts going on in this room, not just, level 3 outreach camp. We have adventure camp, discipleship camp, we have folks in camping services. And so, part of it is we're thinking about all of these things is both how do we take these behaviors and put them in our context? How do we, in learning leadership, I see some of these and go, okay, if I want to do an experiment in helping some of these, it's more about how I support this behavior or provide resources for or engage with a camp manager or a department head. Or we kind of heard the acknowledgement of levels. Like, hey, we were kind of thinking camp manager, camp director, but really when you think about ministry, I don't know that the behavior is that much different when it comes to guest services manager, program director. I think the behavior of connection and how we do that is similar. And so it does take us not getting tripped up on kind of some of those boundaries and going, okay, how do we kind of draw the threads from all the different places? Does that make sense? Okay, here's what we're going to do next. Each group you're going to stay in the same small groups. You're going to grab your consolidated thing. You're going to probably want to take a picture of it since 3 groups can't share one piece of paper. And we're going to give you about 30 minutes-ish to create some experiments, some things that you would be willing to try based on any one of these behaviors. You can just pick one. And it can be, you can come back with one, or you can come back with one for each person in your group, but they have to be ones that you would be willing to go try, to actually go do. And we have some criteria for that.
Yes, so when we think about these experiments, Levi, you can put up the slide up there, yep.
Oh,
so experiments, here we are. So everyone is going to come up with an experiment, and we're looking for experiments. When we say, hey, we're gonna run an experiment, we're gonna think about something that's, more or less than $1,000 and less than 10 hours. Part of what that means is it's not something that's looking for someone's approval. We don't have to ask Chad Seaver if we can run this experiment. What we're going to do is that each person is going to have an experiment that they can run to get towards one of these behaviors. Each of the experiments has to be completed by mid-January, and it's going to be at your camp or in your context. And the goal of these experiments ultimately is that we would learn, and that we would be able to then see discern what are the things that we can replicate and scale that would allow us to bring alignment across the entire department, right? So the best thing, though, to do that is to do an experiment in your own kind of local context, see what we learn from it. We'll bring all those learnings back, and then we see what are we able to replicate and scale. And discerning from there, then we can bring alignment. That's kind of where we're going with some of this. So when we think about an experiment that you are going to build, that video we watched in the pre-work is super helpful to get us in that experiment mindset. But we want you're going to each come up with an experiment that is going to get at a behavior that you wrote for your group. Right? And if it's not one that is on the consolidated list, if it's on your original list, that's okay too. And it has to be an experiment that you're not already doing. Okay? So it has to be something new, right? So if you're already, doing it, then it doesn't count. So I'll give just
What if it's never been done, where you had a plan, but it hasn't been done yet?
If you had a plan and it hasn't been done and there's still room to learn in it, then that is acceptable, okay?
Just out there, it's on your
Okay.
phone. You're welcome.
And Alice, what?
What if there's an idea like for summer? That's
So,
January.
so right now we're going to do experiments that have to be completed by January.
But just as an example, like let's say one of the experiments was around PTO for the summer. There's actually some of that work that happens during the winter of like, how would this work? Could we model it out? Like, is it even possible for a guest service manager to do that? Like, I think don't just give up on it because it's in the summer. I think a lot of the summer prep actually needs to happen right during this time.
And I would offer too, this is not going to, like, hopefully if we have a spirit of curiosity and learning and experimentation, you can do one now and then you could do another one that is going to happen in the summer, right? So like a few examples, we want it to be really clear and direct and something that you could actually see. So an example, this is just an example, if we had the people group was talking about kind of regular moments of engagement. And if we want to get, and that, I call like a one-on-one. And so if we want to change how that looks, an experiment could be for 2 months, I'm going to have a weekly one-on-one with my leadership team, and I'm going to ask the same 3 questions, and we're going to see if that changes the way that they engage and if I know how to engage back with them. Right? And so we're going to do this experiment for 2 months, and then we can ask them, like, you can see, did they engage differently? How did this go, right? So it could be something, maybe you're meeting with them regularly, but it's not in the same consistent rhythm or with the same 3 questions, right? So that's just an example for people. For operations, we're going to run an experiment with our department heads, and they're going to meet with their team each week, and they have the top 3 things that they are going to focus on that week, and each person on the team can name them and say them every single week for 2 months and see if that changes how someone understands their job for that week, right? Those are experiments, like simple. They aren't hard. It's less than 10 hours. It's less than $1,000. But that's what we're going for.
We're not solving each one of these. We're trying to learn more about them. And so I would pay attention to kind of where you have some energy and ideas and different things you can try. So and we will be walking around similar to how we were before. Any questions before we start? Clarifying that we can help.
Just because it's our group's idea doesn't mean we have to do them.
Yes. So what you are going to, walking out of this room today, commit to an experiment that you are going to do.
But in our bucket, I guess that's what I'm getting at.
You're going to
Yes.
do one within your team.
Within your team bucket, yes.
Okay, great.
But if you want to do multiple, that's great.
Yes, you're going to do one within your bucket. And then you could do another one too if you want in another team's bucket.
Yep.
Any other questions?
Okay. We're going to go 30 minutes. So go get in your groups, grab your piece of paper, and let's go. We'll be around to help.
Okay, y'all, we're gonna have 4 more minutes in our groups to think about experiments. We are going to share some, and I would encourage you to continue thinking simple. Continue thinking simple as you're thinking about what is an experiment you can do as you're going through it. So 4 more minutes and we'll come back together. All right, 1 minute warning, and then we're going to share some experiments. Okay, y'all, let's go ahead. You can, we're gonna share kind of with some folks, and then we're gonna go on a break. So that's where you know where you're headed. Your pieces of paper were to help you work on it, brainstorm. You can hold on to them wherever you have them. So before we go out, we would love to just hear from a handful of groups. What are some experiments that you talked about that you're gonna try?
This is a judgment-free zone.
Yep. The thing about the experiment is it's something that we're gonna try. It doesn't have to be perfect because we are not committed to replicating it and scaling it for forever. We're trying it. So who would go first for me? What's an experiment?
Okay, for people, we're going to do a PowerPoint party with our staff. This is touching on the articulating your why, the playing together, active listening, a culture of curiosity, and a rhythm of engagement. One person on staff will have a blind draw. Everybody will have to draw somebody else on staff. And then you have 7 minutes. First of all, the PowerPoint you put together has to come with a walk-up song. So you're presenting somebody else. You have their walk-up song. And there are 5 questions. Why are you serving at wherever you're serving? Who were you in middle school or high school? What gives you joy? What are the important relationships in your life right now? And then how are you encouraged? And there can be 2 follow-up questions, unless Brett said people are trying. Then you can have 3.
That's so gracious. If there's tears, then I love it. That's an incredible experiment. Way to go. It sounds fun. What's another experiment?
We had one for operations, and it was 2 of the behaviors, which is active communication and intentional strategic calendar.
Okay.
And it was bring the calendar to an all-camp meeting, and with transparency, talk about the intentionality of the calendar and the strategicness behind it.
I love that. Thank you, Stacy. That's a great one. Cheers all around. That's great. Another one.
Come on, one more.
I got one.
Thank you, Lord.
I got one in the back. Over the mountain. I'm just kidding. I might have played it recently. One that we talked about was having one-on-one time with people who are not in your direct oversight, and how to create that space. And I cheat because I did this last year, and I'll do it again in a little bit different framework. But I created Lunch with Lauren signups outside my office that were a paper calendar every other week. And you could sign up, and I already had those calendars blocked in my Outlook, so I knew that I had that space available. But it let anybody sign up for that time, and it was their time. They got to decide where we were going to lunch. They got to decide the conversation. It was really fruitful. A lot of the people that signed up were non-department head staff at Crooked Creek. We had some interns want to sign up, and it became really fruitful towards development conversations.
Great job. Great job.
I want to sign up for that and do it over Zoom.
Perfect. Okay, so let's go ahead. We're going to take a 13-minute break, and we are going to come back in here at 3:20. Okay, so looking at this clock back here, we're coming in at 3:20, and we are going to be in our groups one more time and think about another way of looking at experiments. So 13 minutes, and we're back together.
Thank you.
right, 2-minute warning. 1-minute warning. All right, find a seat. Thank you, Megan. I appreciate that.
I think you lost the room.
It's very bright up here. I'm just going to say that. A little too bright.
It's been 14 minutes, Dan.
I'm a gracious leader. Yeah. It's been so long now. I feel awkward. All right, here we go. All right, we have one more section. So I know folks are tired, but you're doing a great job. Thanks so much for how you're engaging with it. I heard several group people say, well, that was a little harder than I thought. I had a little energy around the behaviors, and when I went to go think about specific experiments, it got hard, and that's okay. I think, one, we just want to acknowledge we're all in a little bit different places, and our context, where we are and what's going on in those contexts, make different conversations more challenging than others. All of that's okay. Some encouragements I would give is continue to keep it simple when you can. And focus specifically on what are you hoping to learn by doing something. So if you're going to, kind of do Mark's idea about, hearing the PowerPoint and hearing about different people and their why, like at the end of the time, what are you hoping to learn from it? So that you can then go, okay, what would we change about this? How would we want to do this next year? How would I talk about this within my division? So focus on the learning and try and keep it simple. In this next part, we're going to do the same thing, gather up in our group, and we're going to think of experiments, except this time we are going to give you a specific prompt having to do with whatever your healthy is, your healthy people, healthy ministry, healthy ministry operations. So we're going to give you some data from the survey and then a specific prompt around your healthy, and then you're going to create some more experiments. And so this is just another way to look at it with the hope of if that last one we did around the behaviors was a little more challenging, maybe this is a different way to look at it. Again, the hope is not that you'll come back necessarily with one. You may go, hey, Jimmy has one and Marshall has a different one and Josh has a different one. That's okay. But I think and it may be really helpful for you to help other people if they're kind of stuck in their context of what could this idea look like for me. Jordan, what else would you add?
Nothing else that I would add. You can, if you want, groups, you can write up your experiments, or you all can kind of talk about them. At the end of today, we are going to all, before we leave this room, fill out a form with what experiment we are going to do. So we'll write it down in that way. But what we're going to do now is we're going to get in those groups. If you're a group leader, you're going to come up here and grab your prompts. And these prompts really are from the data from the survey and from focus groups. So those are the prompts that are helping launch your experiment. Okay, so you're going to get a piece of paper, your leader is, and there's 2 copies of it so multiple people can look at it together. So you're going to want to read through that first, read all of the data, and then come up with some experiments as related to that. And as a reminder, we're thinking about learning, not solving it, okay?
What's something you could try that would help teach you more about what's on your prompt? That's what we're looking at. Any questions? You're doing a great
Okay.
job. Ready?
Leaders,
Break.
come down here, and you're going to have 20 minutes in your groups.
I know you're pretty good at saying no when you're done.
Okay, 2-minute warning. 2-minute warning. Okay, let's try and pull together here if you can. Finish up those conversations. Okay, friends, let's have a seat. We're almost there. Looks like we're missing a few. I believe. Great job. You're doing a great job. All right. Okay. Great job. I'm sure people are tired. You did a wonderful job. Would love to hear, again, no judgment, would love to hear some of the experiments that people came up with that you're going to try, or maybe some that you are still thinking about.
I have an offering. It's not an experiment. It's just me having my own internal learning.
Love it.
I sat in our group with very cross-divisional voices around the topic of ministry, and two folks shared, like, I'm not seeing this as a problem. And I'm sitting there with a Rolodex of stories, of interactions, firsthand, secondhand stories, where I'm like, no. People are on fire. What do you mean you don't see? What? So we spent most of our time talking about, is this true? And I'm still a little bit like holding that and learning. Reminding me that there's very different experiences around these three topics across camps, divisions, and levels within our camping ministry. So it really changes our perspectives.
I would also offer, as someone who, judge me however you wish, believes that, believed the like, oh, that's not true. This doesn't play out at Sharp Top, and then digging into it and finding out, oh, it was rampant. You know, the young host was feeling, you know, whatever by assigned team folks on the weekend on a regular basis. And even in our group, Bob was like, well, it's probably not your familiar region, right? And I was like, no, I'm finding out that it's actually the people that we do things with every day. Now, whether or not they were intending it and it was perception, I'm not trying to further the divide, but the subject on the paper was happening even when I initially denied it to find out it wasn't.
It came from the data.
Yeah, and I think we've had a lot of these discussions, and yes, like I think in our different contexts, things can feel more or less true and be more or less true. And I think the reality is, like, as we think about healthy operations, healthy people, healthy ministry, these are the things that are our focus. And there are times, like that I can think about relationship with field staff for me as a camp manager and go, there were times it was thriving. And then all of a sudden, a year later, things were very different. And this ability to be a learner and to have curiosity and to have systems in place to go, how do I learn more about that and ask questions? And even if there's nothing on fire, I know that this relationship still needs to develop, and 5 years from now may be in a different place. How do I have experience that lead me towards that, even if things are fine? How do I find that depth? And so I think, that's where the data can be hard, because you're immediately bringing to your context and going, okay, is this valid? Is this true for me? Is it? But I think, which is totally fine, but I think there still is that part of, one, things are gonna change, and how do we continue to develop towards growth in our healthy ministry or our operations or with people? And there would be some leaders that would tell you the time to look at improving something is when you're doing well at it. To go, hey, if you have a thriving leadership team, continue to develop your thriving leadership team. That's not the time to go, oh, we're good. So that's maybe how I would think about it. But yes, this is all the things, that we've been wrestling with. Other thoughts, experiments that people came up with. Would love to hear. Micah.
Well, this is a new thought. I did not run this through my group. I needed the broader conversation to get to this place. I'm wondering if what Marshall was describing isn't an experiment for the next 6 weeks, a debrief with the host from the weekend, with some pointed questions about their interactions with the assigned team.
Yeah.
Where guest group comms is planning that with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe you've done that before, and so maybe you go, well, what's a different way I could do that? Have that conversation. Because we have lots of systems in place. And so, maybe it's like, well, I've kind of done that, but what would be a different way to get that, to have that conversation and get that input from them? Yeah.
Or and I don't, it might have been at Lone Hollow, we did something similar. We would do like a after action kind of debrief of non-Young Life groups, because they were getting to know us at Lone Hollow, like it was just kind of, we were learning, are they the right group, are they the right fit? I wonder if there's even some of that with our kitchen team and the work crew boss
Exactly.
on school season, and then it's as a camp manager or food service manager or GS manager going, oh hey, I'm recognizing these trends of our school season assigned teams, and it means this. Like in the month of November, I'm gonna ask my food service manager about each work crew boss on a weekend. And then I'm gonna talk to the regions that own that weekend about the information I'm getting. And then my experiment that I took away from mine is I'm going to figure out a more artful way than just sharing the handout of actually sharing, I think I was on the ministry team, that information with the Marcom team, because they will set, like, day 0 is all about us. Camping can't wait for you to be here, or hey, let's put together a video of camp staff thanking field staff for bringing their friends. Can we switch that video for this year? Can it be field staff thanking camp staff for hosting their friends? And just when they have that awareness, when they're writing all emails, like, just, hey, this heads up, because they're a part of that communication. Like I think we might say the field communicates, and it's actually written by somebody in mission services.
and they're hitting send, and
Mhm.
it has Wiley's signature on it, but it was written by somebody else.
Yeah, that's great. Other experiments.
I wonder about, as we are learning about our assignment teams for summer 2026, if we could possibly invite dining hall, like work crew bosses to come and be guests and maybe shadow a weekend dining hall boss or be a weekend dining hall boss. We could, get them there or give them campers, like we use our Nelson knowledge to get them a campership, scholarship or something like that. But we identified training being a place where if our worker bosses are having a hard time getting up to speed with the what of their job, things get a little bit transactional between the camp staff and the worker boss. So let's give them opportunities to experience camp before they get there in the summer.
Yeah.
Hit the ground running.
And that's a job that can have a lot of anxiety in a hurry the second they get there.
Right. Right.
That's a great idea.
Other experiments from either of the two times.
I'm going to put myself out there a little bit. I was working with one group, and someone mentioned they were talking about ministry, being ministers of the gospel, and pointed out, we didn't have anybody really, very few people sign up for the digital retreat.
Yeah.
We had to encourage people to do that,
Mhm.
which is it's incongruent with what they're saying in some aspects that we need to poke at. All right, you're saying you want this, but when you sign up, you're not signing up for it. I wonder, evidently that's not the itch that they were trying to scratch, or they need some encouragement, or they need to have it communicated. This is the thing that we're trying to help you with. That you could run a quick experiment at your camp to just kind of find out, tell me why that didn't interest you.
Yeah.
And what do you mean when you want to be more invested in the ministry of gospel, but you're not doing this other thing over there?
Mhm.
Okay, now I'm just sweating.
That one helps learning leadership out. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, to spin off of that, we kind of continued having that conversation, particularly too, how can we find out more about being a minister of the gospel in a specific role? And so one of the experiments that we were talking around was how could we have departments sort of, group up and, hey, write down 5 things that you are already experiencing as a minister of the gospel in your specific role. So how you're living this out as a chef one, as a landscape, as a, fill in the blank. And then also though, where do you feel like there are gaps where you don't feel like a minister of the gospel in your particular role, so that we could learn a little more around that.
That's great, Debbie. And I would offer, as I think about that one, that is something that new staff in their departments will talk about the ministry of their department and their role with their department leads when we're together in December. And so if they went back and talked to their team and that was a experiment and an exercise, those things could all connect together. So I would add that. Any other experiments?
I think since I'm at a table that everyone's talking, in my role, I can get a Wow Connect camp and I can find a weekend group and some registration and pray for a list of kids.
God bless.
Thank you, Chad. Yeah. I think those are great connection points, and those are a great piece of that ministry that we were talking about in that partnership was connection. And so I heard a lot of different experiments and ideas we were coming up with that are just simple connection points that are different ways that might change how we learn and our perspective as we think about partnership with those in the field.
Allison?
I got to listen to some neat ideas from the group that Jimmy led.
Woof.
That was a quick pause.
Jeez.
Sorry, my hearing aid went out.
Ray, somebody, it was great.
this was a harder exercise than the
Yeah.
first one.
Yeah.
To have the hard things on the paper in front of you
Yeah.
was a lot harder to like, whoa, I don't really even know.
You want to try to fix it all.
Yeah.
Or you want more information.
So, I mean, Knauer did a really great job of leading us, let's be honest, and just said, hey, let's just focus on clear priorities. You know what I mean? Like, all this other stuff just kind of forces that up. But, like, I think what we learned is that, like, Megan gives me her goals, then my goals support her goals. And years past, department heads had goals that supported their narratives. We've kind of lost that practice. So how do we then, as camp manager, whatever, share our goals with our department heads and have them come up with theirs that support that, and then maybe even to the Chef One level. Hey, what are your goals for this year? You know, so just that was something for. And
Yeah,
that just helps the clear priorities amongst the camp.
Yeah. That's a great idea and a great experiment. And that doesn't, I would, wonder about it doesn't have to be on the annual evaluation cycle. It could be in your next one-on-one and say, hey, here's one goal that I have. What goal would you make off of that? And how could you share that with your team? And let's check back in a month and see if we need to adjust that goal, how we could enhance that goal, and how that is connecting with other staff members in that department. Like it could be that simple and small, so it doesn't feel like a large thing.
Mm-hmm.
Micah.
I don't like this experiment, but I'm going to share it. I don't like it because it's it is driven by gathering negativity. So, filter it through that. But on host logs, the expectation from the team I lead is that it will begin with a God sighting. I love that. I want that to continue. I want everything that comes after that to filter through where they experience the Lord in that shift. I wonder if there's an experiment of gathering, because the goal is to learn from this negativity of what's actually happening, right? Like the examples that we have is based around conflict between field staff and camp staff in expectations, and in order for me to learn from that, I need to know about more of those, right? Like our group discussed the disconnect between what I experience with field staff and between what the specialists experience with field staff. Hands-on. So is there a way for them to, and maybe EJ needs to speak into this, but like for some of those negative experiences to be brought to light to me as well, where I'm asking them to unaccurately portray their experience fully, like authentically. And that's the narrative that everybody's hearing, and that's contributing to my perception that everything's great. Nothing bad happened because what I'm asking for is only the positive things.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So my experiment would be, there's a separate email that's sent to
Yeah.
just me.
Yeah.
With your negative experiences
Yeah.
in your shift as well.
And maybe, maybe this is the PR side of me, but, I think, I don't necessarily see it as negative. I see it as, what are the opportunities for growth and improvement, for deeper relationship? Because those opportunities are always there. When things are good, when things are hard. And so, I think even on a good weekend, a host may go, oh, I have a couple ideas, yeah. Or there are a couple things that would be some good opportunities for improvement. And I don't necessarily look at the data as negativity. Having been on almost, most of the focus groups, they were rarely negative. It was people that deeply cared about what they did and where they were, and also said a lot of really good things. Going, gosh, here's what's hard sometimes. I do that too.
Another thing that we talked about was, Nick brought up a really good point regarding, rolling out of new things. Like, his department heads are, yeah, we're going to Impact, we're going to find out what the next thing is. And we're just seeing, and I think we can read a lot of change fatigue, and it's just really hard. But like, what does it look like to embrace the tree that Eric showed us today, to being like this known campaign, to be like, hey, till 2030, I think that's what it goes to. Like, this is what we're focusing on. It's all supported in this. Like, to keep that in front of, that's the clear priority.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of that first waterfall. Like,
Yeah.
we know our people are feeling that, just there's so many things constantly. Oh, what's the next new thing? And yet we know there's always going to be new things, new systems. We're going to go to Google Suite. We're going to whatever it is. Like, there's always going to be, and so we know both those things to be true. So how do we hold that tension and go, okay, so what is it that's actually drowning people here? Is it the way we're doing it? Is that they're not a part of it? Is that they don't have notice on it? Are we not supporting them? How do we get curious and learn what's happening here that we can help them, help change this experience? Because we're not going to be able to take away all the new things. And we don't want it. Because a lot of these new things are going to help them. We're going to hear about one tomorrow. Love you, buddy.
I was in the people group, but this is one in the ministry bucket that I've been trying to experiment with, and it's a shift in language. So instead of referring to camp staff or field staff, I've been trying to say our Young Life staff that work at camp, or our Young Life staff that work in the field. And just that shift of we're all Young Life staff. We just work in different places. And it's really hard to change that. But it has a shift of we're all in the same team, and it's not this us and them, but we're Young Life staff that work in, whether it's camp, field, missions.
Yeah.
I love that. And that's an easy experiment in terms of trying that language out. So that's awesome.
Any other experiments? Great. Awesome. A couple thoughts. Then we're going to show you kind of a form that we're going to ask you to fill out while you're here. Not necessarily right now. And then Chad may have a few extra words. But I think, one, great job. I mean it. As we went into today, yep, you can give yourself. I was very hopeful for the conversation, and having really never done this before, we're experimenting a little bit on you, so thank you. And going, hey, I'm curious to see how this is going to go. And you did a great job, and I'm really thankful for it. I think it is very easy as you get to the end of these days, especially after 4 o'clock, to feel like, oh, geez, all of a sudden, this thing I was excited about 2 hours ago now feels like one more thing. That is not the hope. And I would say if you're at that spot, one, that's okay. And two, I would encourage you to remember that you have teams of people that this would be a great conversation for. Whether that's full-time staff or interns or volunteers, whoever your people are. We have found this conversation as we've had it with T2, we had it with the transformation team. They have been a mile ahead of me at times of going, oh, I can give you 5 experiments right now. And even if you're just at the point of going, hey, what's something you think we might be able to try? If I said, okay, you got 2 months and $500, we go do this, like, what could we do? I bet you're going to get something. And at the very least, I bet you're going to get appreciation for, oh, I'm a part of the conversation with you. And that's really what we're trying to create, is both within this team and within our other teams going, we need everyone's voice. in how do we learn, how do we impact all of our context in this way. So call us up, call your coordinator up, call Chad up. I'm sure he'd rather have that call than many of his other calls. Positive of it, actually. So I think, how do we learn and experiment with these things and really focus on what am I hoping to learn by doing whatever, by taking this person out to lunch or whatever it is. So that would be my encouragement. We just two other quick things. We are going to give you, we haven't created it yet, so I won't be that specific, but we are going to give you a resource to invite you to take to your staff. As the last communication we did with the staff in terms of the AE Sloan process was in the spring. We sent out the that email. We did get responses to that and engagement in it. I had several one-on-one conversations with camp staff regarding that email that they had questions about that were really good. But in that email, we kind of promised, hey, we're going to be working in these areas and you will hear more. So we want to give you some resources at a leadership team meeting or an all-camp meeting to go, hey, here's remember we did that survey and then there was this other survey and you got that email. Here's kind of where we're going, just so there can be some conclusion to that and some follow-up from that. So it doesn't, I think the last thing we want to do is kind of say we're going to do something and not do it. And so we will give you some resources for that. We will be having a somewhat similar conversation at Impact. We haven't fully planned it. We won't be going through kind of all these experiments, but we will be giving them some awareness and invitation into this way of thinking. So anything you would add, Jordan? Great. We do have a QR code.
Yes,
Israel?
so there is a QR code that's going to come up here. And this is a way for you to let us know about what experiment that you are going to try. And this experiment that you put in here, it can be from any of the groups, right? So if you, but we want one experiment that you are going to try in the coming months. So it can be in any topic as we think about healthy people, healthy operations, healthy ministry, but what you are going to do. So we're going to ask that you fill out this form by lunchtime tomorrow. So we're going to give you some time so you can access it now on your phone. Christine will add it to the website here in just a little bit, a link. So if you want to click it from your computer later, you can do that. But this is going to take you to a form, and it will let us know. It will also let your coordinator know what experiment you are going to try in the next few months. So we would ask and invite you to fill that out.
Great, thanks.
A couple thoughts as we close this up. One, all of this is not intended for you to go home with more to do. What I appreciate about the three healthies and the values, attitudes, and behaviors, and then all of these experiments, because we're going to have 60 plus experiments that come out of this, is about gaining alignment of how we care for our staff and how we focus on those three priorities that came out of the survey. So I don't want you to go, how long are we going to keep doing experiments? We're going to keep doing them because it allows us to have discernment and alignment. That's the end goal right now. The other thought I have, and I'm going to put the directors on the spot a little bit, and you may have the number or you can make one up, and hopefully it's close. I'm curious, I'm going to start with Matt. What's the average tenure of a guest services manager?
Under 4 years.
Under 4. Mike?
4 until you pull Terry Burley, and then it's 2.6.
2.6.
Probably around 6 or 7.
6 or 7. Kathleen? 5. Chad?
It's like 11 or 12.
It's longer for that. Ken's? 3. Jeremy? 7. Think about those numbers of the average tenure of a department head. How you all are setting them up and teaching them and setting expectations through using the 3 healthies, the value, attitudes, and behaviors, impacts
how this plays out. I think, in fact, Greg and I were laughing earlier, like there's like 6 of us in the room that were in this room 15 years ago. That's crazy to think about. How we set up our department heads to help cascade information, to teach, is all a part of this survey. And honestly, it's on this room to do. I'm not sure they know how to think like you all thought today. And honestly, this was the best workshop environment that this group has done. The energy was in the room on these things. So how you're going to choose to engage with your leadership team and set some expectations to do these experiments will have a huge impact. Huge. I'm not sure Jacob and I were talking during one of the breaks, like, are you being clear, myself included, CLT included in that? Are you being clear with what you're asking them to leave a leadership team meeting and go do on this kind of work? Do they know how to do a one-on-one? We use that phrase all the time. Do they know how to do it? Have you modeled? You've probably modeled, but have you told them that you're modeling what they're doing with them? Have you equipped them with the questions to ask in their own department meeting? Have you encouraged them to be curious about ways to impact what they're doing through experiments? To actually develop the muscle of discernment. Most of you are in this room because you can do it naturally. And most of our department heads honestly can do it naturally, but I don't know that we can wait for them to figure that out on their own. We have to show them and teach them how to do this and be really clear with our expectations. And I guarantee you, our engagement will go up. People's understanding of what their responsibility is will change. The joy in their job will change. Their evals will get even better, right? I think we've got to engage with that group of people. Because remember, the supervisor statement was the supervisor's supervisor. That's us. So how are we going to equip the people that are supervising along the way? So I am so thankful for the way you all engaged in this today. And we're not asking you to go home and implement the 3 healthies and value attitudes and behaviors. That might come at some point. But try those on with your team. What would it look like for you to ask a department head what they would hope, using your example, Micah, of like, what would it look like for a guest services manager to think about the values, attitudes, and behaviors of their own team? I don't know that they know how to do that. You all do, or we're at least learning how to do that. So I just want you to be encouraged by the fact that we made some huge strides today. The simple fact that you all owned what the behaviors are. We did not populate that on purpose, and had we, as a CLT, we probably would have got about 80% there. You all got 100% there in a first draft. That's great. Let's keep being intentional with how we train up our department heads and model that to them. It will make a huge, huge difference in those things. So there's my thoughts to wrap us up. You got the details, Jordan, of what's
Yes.
next?
I do. from here, I would say we have all of these pieces of paper where you all were working on this. And so if you need ideas for experiments or things like that, as you're trying to think about what do you want to do over these next few months, I would invite you to come up here, see what some other folks wrote and some of the experiments that they were writing down or different behaviors. And so you can see those things kind of spread around this room. And I would invite you to look at them if it's helpful for you to think about an experiment that may be helpful in your context. So we have those up here. But from here, we're going to wrap up in this room for today, so well done. And then we're going to have just a little bit of free time because at 5:10, everyone needs to be in the car that you came in, and we are going to head to Zorba's. Yes, Zorba's is it's a local kind of legend around here in northern Minnesota in the Lakes area, Lakes County. So we're gonna head to Zorba's. If you came and it was just you in your car for some reason because of delays, some of those things, there are seats in other cars that you can hop into. So if you had just one or two people in your car, you can find someone, raise your hand if you have a seat in your car, if you were a driver. James? I know that 12-passenger van did, Bob. So you find one of these people, and there's room. Jimmy's got a 12-passenger van,
Let's go, party bus!
there's room. So you are going to get in a car at 5:10, and we are going to head to the Zorba's, and it is Zorba's in Detroit Lakes. So on that website that has the schedule on it and everything is the actual address of the Zorba's we're going to. It is not the one in Pelican Rapids, which is closer because that one is very small and would not be able to take all of us. So it is the Zorba's in Detroit Lakes, right there on the lake. So you're going to want to make sure. And when we go there, we're going to be having dinner there. When we arrive, there will be some apps. The work crew are going to join us in that meal. And they'll have a Zorba's Cup is like a fun local thing to have around here. The first time I ever came to Castaway, I was able to take home a Zorba's Cup. So they're going to have that there for you. And you're going to want to grab that. And we're going to be there and then coming back here afterwards for worship tonight. But that is the next little bit. Dan?
Oh, I was going to say, there is a good chance for folks that know Greg Johnson that he might be at dinner tonight. So just wanted to give you a heads up that we'll have a chance to hang out with him and say hi and greet him. So, yeah.
Awesome. So you're free to go now.
Wait, Jordan. Did you? Great. Tonight, she mentioned the cup. If you want a drink, you are welcome to purchase a drink tonight at dinner.
5:10, get in the
And
car.
I think we're going to pray for dinner right now. Megan, would you like to do that?
Let's pray. Lord God, thank you for today. This is the day that you have made. We are rejoicing and are glad in it. Father, we give you all these ideas. We give you our hearts, our minds, our plans, our lives. May you just write on our hearts what you would have for us. With the things that are not from you or of you just fall away quickly. Father, would you keep us safe as we travel together to Zorba's? Would you bless our meal, bless the hands that prepare it and serve it? May we be salt and light when we go to Zorba's, Father. Would you just move in that place and move through us? We love you. It's in